This is a podcast from the Movie Pod Squad Network. For more shows like this, visit MoviePodSquad.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows it?
I came here to save you. Oh, yeah? And who's gonna come to save you, Junior?
If I can change, then you can change. Everybody can change.
1.21 gigawatts.
Silver Anakin! I have the high ground!
You are a child's plaything!
You are a sad, strange little man.
Groovy.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Let me tell you something you already know.
That is one big pile of shit.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, super-powered mini-sode. Joining us tonight is the third Super Movie Brother, my good friend Chris from the More Gooder Than podcast. What is up, man?
I mean, tears right now. That is one of the sweetest things. I don't even know. No one's ever said anything nice for me than that. Maybe my wife, when she said "I do," might have been the only thing.
Oh, dude,
Yes.
I think we both really feel that way. We love having you on. I think in our last top 5 we did with the top 5 car chases that we did together.
Vehicle chases.
Vehicle chases, that's right. We had one of the funniest moments I think we ever had on this, where me and you were just lamenting at Jay about his reverse pooping and looking at the Ryan Gosling poster. It's hands down one of the funniest moments we've had on this show. So I'm very happy to have you back, and I love having you on every time.
I hope I sound okay. I just moved in, and so I haven't got my studio all set up. So
That's all right. I should say congratulations on the house, and
Yeah, definitely, man.
I can't wait
Thanks.
until next year when me and Lauren are sleeping in your guest bedroom when we come to visit California for a week.
absolutely, bro.
I almost forgot him, but joining us tonight is also the other Super Movie Brother, my co-host Jay.
Super Movie Brother Jay.
Is that super baby monkey?
Super Baby Monkey.
He did it again tonight when we were recording our
my
main
God.
episode. He's like, Super Baby Jay. And I told him, fucking, we're rolling with it, man.
You know, all of last week's episode, it was still in the back of my mind, and I was, again, just giddy and stupid and just had to laugh and giggles all night long. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wait until you listen to this.
Yeah. Wait until you listen to the latest episode that me and Jay just recorded that'll be coming out just 3 days after this
Yes.
mini-sode.
Yes.
Jay gets the giggle. Like, you would think that Jay smoked a half pound of fucking the finest, like,
I know.
Californian kush that you could find.
It's the
because
right
he had
combination
giggle
of
fits.
Alabama beer and bourbon. Yeah. And now I'm riding the tailwind of that now.
Yeah, we're coming down, Jay.
We're coming down.
It's a very serious conversation we're going to have.
This is a very
about
serious conversation.
Franchises that have been fucking awesome, that knocked your socks off, that got your cock hard.
This is the most serious thing we've ever talked about, ever.
Because not only, like, we're not just judging a film this time for any of its merits. We're judging at least
As a
3
whole.
films. Right. So what this is I had to put some rules on this because we would all have MCU at number 2 or number 1 if we allowed something like that. So what
Would we?
Would we? But so I did put a little bit of like a kibosh on it. MCU is not a franchise. That's a movie universe. That's
Wait,
something
hold
different.
on a second. It's kibosh. It's kibosh.
It's kibosh.
Yeah, whatever.
I've been saying kibosh for weeks now. Don't.
I know, and I think I pointed out on Twitter a few times. It's kibosh.
It's kibosh.
It's fun.
Okay, just think of kebabs and then put an ash on the end of it. Kibosh.
Yeah, that's exactly where it comes from. You're right.
It's my job to correct Jay on the show, not your job to correct me. He really is the third Super Movie Brother. Now he's fucking correcting us.
Jay, you have to correct me now. You have to correct me now.
Okay.
So that it's just the circle of correction.
The circle of brothers. Yeah.
So the rules were, for it to be a franchise, it had to have at least 3 films, which means Ghostbusters is out. There's only 2 films in that original franchise, and I'm not allowing reboots to fill in that 3 films. And then MCU counts as a universe, therefore not a franchise. But if you want to say Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, Captain America, First Avenger, Winter Soldier, and Civil War are a franchise, fair game, that is a go.
I actually stayed away from that whole world.
Of course you did. What do you got, some fucking indie franchise?
I'm going to call it right now. He has before midnight, before sunset, and before sunrise. He's got this.
Chris,
it's before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight. Yes.
Chris, if you want to know a little bit of history about me and Jay, that is actually the film franchise that made us friends. The fact that I had seen one of those when me and him first met.
Anybody who has seen those movies and actually likes those movies, but even let alone just seen those movies, I am automatically like, you're my best friend.
Basically, at our old job, Jay was the cool kid, if you could believe it or not. Jay was the cool kid. And
I believe it.
When me and him were talking about, movies, he had brought up Before Sunrise, and I had seen Before Sunrise, and we talked about it. But I hadn't seen Before Sunset or Before Midnight wasn't out yet. We saw that together.
We did see that together, yeah.
So
did you hold hands?
No, we actually had a friend in between us.
We did.
Did you hold that friend's hand?
It got awkward.
It got awkward, yeah. Because that friend didn't like it, and we were both like, "Are you kidding me?" It was actually perfect.
Oh, that's the worst. When you go with somebody that doesn't like a movie, but you love it, it's the worst.
It's so awkward.
So
it ruins your high.
So actually, I was that friend for Superman Returns. We all went as a big group to see Superman Returns, and I hated it. And everyone's like, "How could you hate it?" Years later,
how could you not?
I was proven right. That's what I love. But
you were proven right days later.
I know, but
I don't know about years later.
But no, literally, I was like lampooned for hating that film when we got out of the theaters. I was like, no, that movie sucked. What are you talking about? I was like, Superman literally had no weakness to kryptonite. He was weak to kryptonite throughout the entire movie, and then he just willed himself to not be weak to kryptonite and flew an entire kryptonite island off of the planet Earth and threw it into the sun. How is that okay by anybody's standards? Anyway, so, but yeah, me liking and having seen Before Sunrise garnered me a spot at Jay's table when we went to have beers. Like, I was allowed to sit with him and be friends with him. Since then, I have outgrown him, outshined him, outperformed him in every single way. I'm the man, the myth, the legend. You can't beat me, Jay.
Oh,
I'm better in every way.
I don't fight you on that. I do not fight on that. Yeah.
That's my wrestling promo. Ooh, brother. Ooh, yeah. All right, so let's get this shindig started. We've vamped, we've bullshitted, and we've slobbed each other's knobs long enough. Let's get into our top 5 movie franchises.
Chris, you want to start it off? Number 5?
We always start with the guest. Yeah.
I will go first. I am going to say Rocky.
Not a bad call.
Not a bad call. I tried to get it on my list. It was.
Let's not even say a bad call. Fucking awesome call.
It is an awesome call.
It's an awesome call because it wasn't on my list.
No, here's why. And because Rocky, the original Rocky might be one of the greatest sports movies of all time. He doesn't win, but he does. You know what I mean? Like he would. And then Rocky 2 comes back and honestly takes him through a whole nother fight that he has to go through, and he does end up winning in the end. Spoiler alert! I hope everyone's seen it.
I hope everyone's seen Rocky 2. He catches the chicken and he beats Apollo Creed.
But then you get number 3 with Clubber Lang, and then of course you go to Ivan Drago. And like while like some of them might seem more cheesy, you know that if it's a Rocky movie is on. Even if it's 5 or Rocky Balboa or Creed or any of them, you're going to watch these movies and you're going to enjoy them.
You might actually hate me for this, but my favorite ones, like in order, are 1, Balboa, Creed, and then Rocky 2. Everything else I really kind of dislike. I like Rocky 4 for its camp and its cheese.
I like the Russian one.
Yeah, but as far as it goes, it's like a good movie. I don't think it's a really good movie. It's a fun movie.
And this one's probably for more for nostalgia purposes. But it's because we watched Rocky 4. I don't know how many times I've seen Rocky 4.
I've seen it more. I've seen it more than the ones.
I think. Yeah.
I've seen it more than the ones I like. That's 100% true.
Yeah, it's probably because of replay value on TV networks or something like that.
That and he gives a great speech at the end. And if I could change, you could change. We all could change.
It's true, but it's a great speech.
Tears. You just gave me tears, man. I got chills and tears right now.
But honestly, the reason that Rocky Balboa is one of my favorites is that speech he gives to his son. And he's like, and you blame it on the shadow. You know, and he's just like, because, you know, it's not how hard you can get hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
And Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
It's a great flick. Great flick, man.
So, like, I love that speech in Rocky Balboa because I had gotten a similar speech from my dad all throughout, like, my adolescent life about, like, taking life as it comes, being a leader, moving forward, you know, like, don't let the bad shit get you down. Just take the hits and keep moving forward. And that speech, honestly, every time brings tears to my eyes. And it just made the intro. that speech made the intro now.
Yeah. I mean, that speech made that movie for me. And it's something that, oh gosh, it just hit home. I think with any son, you know, any guy, I feel like with their father, for the most part.
But Chris, we got to go with, you know, since we're doing franchises, what is your favorite one?
4 is my favorite, and not that it's the best movie, but it's the one I saw the most and like it was quoted constantly.
That Russian guy is an unknown actor, and he did a great job as far as, you know.
You mean Dolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
dude. Dolph Lundgren is actually, it's hilarious. He's one of the most accomplished humans on the face of the earth, but he's always just known. No, like in real life, he's a mechanical engineer. He MIT graduate, speaks 6 different languages.
God damn, I don't know anything about him.
He is the main bad guy in the flashback stories on Arrow this season. That's what he's doing.
So he's
now.
one of like the greatest humans ever to exist.
Physically and mentally. Yes.
Mentally, yeah.
It is really funny because like he's just known for like, you know, Masters of the Universe and Ivan Drago and, you know, the Expendables now and things like that. But like in terms of like actual accomplishments, the man is so much better than any of us.
It's amazing that like this guy that you would write off as like a muscle-bound freak idiot, and he plays dumb people in movies all the time, is actually an MIT engineer.
So he's the world's greatest actor then.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, Rocky was one of my honorable mentions, to be honest. I mean, I have, you know, 4 of them, I think, 3 or 4. So happy you threw it out there.
Yeah, in terms of its mark on pop culture, you cannot deny its mark on pop. And that's kind of what I went with my list is where did it leave its mark on pop culture too, as well as nostalgia for me, because yeah.
Go ahead with your number 5,
now,
Jay.
Overall, my list has been pretty selfish. Definitely something whatever I enjoy the most personally, and as far as repeat value, watching and such. But number 5, I got to start off with Back to the Future. I mean,
Justin's going to be happy with you.
That might be a little higher on some people's lists, perhaps. But I do have a couple trilogies on my list.
Tragically low, Jay, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
tragically low.
See, this was a hard list for me, and as far as ranking them. But when it came down to it, was just fun factor of repeat viewings. You know, as much as maybe I would like or love and appreciate these movies a little bit more than others per se, I really like watching other movies higher up on my list a little bit more often, if that makes any sense.
No, you just made yourself the Biff of this podcast is what you
Fuck
did.
you. All right, whatever.
You always get phrases wrong. You are Biff. Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah.
It's leave. It's leave, you idiot. No, I love Back to the Future. It could go anywhere on anyone's list. It's actually not. It's not on mine.
It's on mine. I won't say where, but it's on mine. But Jay, go ahead and talk about Back to the Future.
Well, 1 and 2, I think, is hard to measure as far as what is better than the other one.
1 is better. It's not hard.
I would say, if I was going to say something, to be 1. Obviously,
1 is honestly a perfect script. It's a perfect script. It's a perfectly told movie. It's perfectly paced, and all the character beats are perfect in it.
And like I always like to say, edited. I think it's really well done.
It's not too slow anywhere, and there is not
It hits all the moments at the right times.
There's not an alien neck fight in it at all to slow it down.
It's nothing like that. It's great. It's great. The second one obviously has the future elements that are a lot of fun to watch. You know, a little riff on the everything from the clothing to the skateboard that just hoverboards over the ground.
You can't go over water without power.
There's so many great elements to it.
And it's Jason Lee too. That's what makes it so funny.
It is Jason Lee. Yeah, that's true. Back to the Future for me, it is on my list. I will reveal where, later on.
The third movie is a little disappointing. It's still enjoyable.
It's so much fun, though.
But it's still a fun movie to watch.
It's so much fun.
It's not like The Godfather, where like the third one is just.
No, the third one's just. It's fun. It's fun to watch.
But the third one, it's just still fun because it's Back to the Future. It doesn't take itself so seriously. It's not that kind of franchise.
Back to the Future 1 is
such a cherished franchise of mine. It's one of my favorites, and then definitely on my list.
I can go on all day. The DeLorean is perfect. Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is perfect. 1.21 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts.
When a DeLorean hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit. I absolutely love that film, and like I said, it's perfectly paced, it's perfectly acted, everyone is perfectly cast in it, and I love going back and watching the deleted scenes with Eric Stoltz and being like, thank fucking God, like, Zemeckis went, nope, not our guy. I know we filmed for the past 3 weeks with this guy, fired. Where's that Family Ties kid? Get him here. And when you like watch the documentary about how they made Back to the Future, the original one, and you realize that, like, Michael J. Fox was working 20-hour days. He was filming an episode of Family Ties, going and filming Back to the Future, going to bed for, like, 3 hours, and he had to have personal assistants keeping him awake to, like, do things because he was practically dead. Yeah, because he wasn't allowed out of his TV contract while he was filming Back to the Future. So he had to do both of them back to back, film a full episode of a TV show, and then That's
incredible.
And film a feature film at the same time. And then you watch his acting in it, and you wouldn't know that motherfucker was dead tired, not one fucking iota.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't shaky at all.
No.
Oh, he has Parkinson's? I'm just saying that he's just a solid actor. He never has any... I just never see him do anything shaky. It's great.
Oh, man. All right, so my number 5 on the list. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to have this on their list, but it's one of my favorite horror franchises, and it has a TV show going today that absolutely flushes out the story and the franchise and makes it so lovable. I'm talking about Evil Dead.
Oh, interesting.
Now on my list.
So, Evil Dead holds a special place in my heart. My sister Kim, one of the first things like we bonded over when I was a young lad, like of like 12 or 13.
So I forgot. I didn't know that we were in medieval Europe.
A young lad. So she showed me Evil Dead 2. Before Evil Dead 1 or before, Army of Darkness, I saw Evil Dead 2. And Evil Dead 2 for me is the high watermark of the series. I absolutely love Evil Dead 2. I love the physical comedy in it. One of my favorite things to do is go and watch the director's commentary because they have so much fun filming this film and talking about the shit they did. They did some crazy shit. Like in the first one, when they're shooting a mannequin with a shotgun, they really just filled a mannequin with blood and shot it with a real shotgun on a set which is something that's absolutely unheard of now. A real actor operating a real shotgun and firing it at other people. Like, it's ridiculous.
Good times.
Yeah, I love this movie so much. I love the entire franchise, and I really, really dig Army of Darkness, and currently Ash versus the Evil Dead is one of my favorite TV shows to watch right now. So the Evil Dead series, for all of its camp, for all of its gore, for just having fun with itself, is one of the things that I love the most in film. I love horror movies, so I think that is a horror movie that has pretty much, it started like the cabin in the woods type genre, right? Going out to a cabin or going out to
I love Cabin in the Woods.
So
it's
do
such
I.
A great flick.
And it wouldn't exist if Evil Dead didn't.
I've never seen any of them.
Oh my God.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah, no.
Me neither.
I've always meant to. I like Bruce Campbell whenever I see him in something. But I just have never seen. I'm not a horror guy. It's not my thing. But I have been meaning to see them, and we've actually talked about doing it on our show.
You got to do them.
We've thought about it, and I don't know. It just is. We've never got to it. And then once I started doing the show, the podcast, we just watched so many movies that it's just I've lost the ability to watch movies for pleasure now.
All right, Chris, what do you got for your number 4?
All right, this one I think Dave's gonna like it. Jay isn't. Toy Story, the Toy Story franchise.
It's safe to say it's not on my list.
No, it's not on my list, but I do absolutely adore and love the franchise.
Yeah, and here's why. Because one, we've talked about this before, Dave. Our love of these movies, but the biggest thing is it changed. To me, Toy Story changed animation completely. When Toy Story came out and was completely computer animated by Pixar, it changed the game. And we've never looked back, and it's just elevated the animated film to something just so much better and to an actual respectable medium. You know, you get so many really good movies, and they start with Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 to me.
Or you can be like me and you could feel that Toy Story, because of its success, actually ruined animated films because we don't get pen and pencil cell animation any longer.
You could say that, but you'd be wrong.
No, honestly, Toy Story.
Just kidding.
It revolutionized animated films, and it is the reason that we do get CG animation now instead of its success is one of the reasons. But you wouldn't even tie it to Toy Story's success. You would tie it to Pixar's success,
right?
More
exactly.
so than just Toy Story. But I absolutely love the Toy Story films. The first one, I love how they age with their audience. Like that's
absolutely.
one of the things I love.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Toy Story is all about being the new kid, right? It's all about being like the new kid in school, or suddenly your friends have a new friend like that. That is something we can all relate to, especially when you're at a young age. And you get to Toy Story 2, and like that's really Toy Story 2 is like the meaning of life, right? Like that's really what Woody's discovering. Like, what's his meaning? He just wants to be useful. He just wants to continue to have a purpose, and Andy's getting older. So, the whole collector aspect of it, and especially if you're like a toy fan, Toy Story 2 is it's a big thing because like the whole point is to leave things mint, to leave things untouched, never played with. And, in Woody's search for immortality, he finds that that's the most tragic thing is to be alive but never have lived. And I feel like that's how most of us felt. And then we get to Toy Story 3 and the acceptance of death. Oh my God. Like those films, they really do go through the aging process.
So when you get to your number 4, can I describe your movies?
Absolutely.
I was waiting for that.
Anyway, brilliant pick, Dave, at number 4 for you for Toy Story. I think it was wonderful and insightful, and I couldn't agree more. Toy Story number 4.
I had to have my say. Sorry. It's my show, motherfucker. God damn it. You're third banana in this motherfucker. I mean, but really, Chris, why did you pick Toy Story other than all the reasons I just named?
No, I said it already. It started to me. It elevated the animated feature to me to something that was respectable and something that everyone could relate to. It wasn't cartoons just weren't for kids anymore to me after Toy Story, and all of them are incredibly emotional. Toy Story 3, of course, might be the greatest third movie of all time. I think it might be the greatest sequel to anything. So anyway, I just think they're great. I could watch them anytime they're on, with my kids, without my kids. Doesn't matter. I could watch it.
Absolutely. Jay, what's your number 4?
I am doing the James Bond franchise.
Ooh, solid pick. I almost went with James Bond. So close.
As a franchise as a whole, I mean, I was brought up before Daniel Craig with the James Bond franchise from my father, watching the Roger Moore, Sean Connery, and even Pierce Brosnan, some of his nonsense. But I'm just gonna just keep it contained. Daniel Craig's, he's got 4 movies under his belt. That's more than a trilogy.
Sure.
And honestly, everybody can attest that only 3 of those movies were actually worthy of any type of quality. Quantum of Solace was a straight up, quick follow-up, kind of a revenge movie coming after Casino Royale.
That sucks. But every franchise has its downside.
Right. And Casino Royale, I think, edges out Skyfall for me slightly, just because it's more enjoyable and it's fun to watch.
Edges out all of them.
And Skyfall is number 2 for me, and then obviously Spectre. And it's not that Spectre wasn't bad; it just didn't quite hit its mark. It just was a little underwhelming, and I think Christopher Waltz is starting to miss his mark as a villain. I think overall, Chris, what do you think?
Oh, I love the James Bond franchise completely. The whole thing, start to finish. I think it's great that something like that has been able to continue on for as long as it has. That's amazing. In terms of pop culture.
Oh, definitely.
There's few other franchises that can say that type of longevity.
And I think in some way, it almost it's every guy's fantasy is being like a spy and being able to look cool and drive all these cool cars and just kind of travel the world and bang all these hot chicks. It's like a secret, fun desire,
Yeah, it's great. It's such a great. Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond. I agree. I think those are the best films out of all of them.
Yeah, I think he brings a sense of reality to it. He grounds the performance and the character in a realistic way, and has a little fun with it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great franchise. It really is.
On the dissenting opinion, I hate James Bond. I do.
I know.
I do enjoy the Sean Connery Bond. I enjoy 2 of the Daniel Craig Bond movies, but as a whole, as a whole franchise, I dislike James Bond. I've never really liked it. I understand people really love the camp of the Roger Moore ones, especially Moonraker.
Yeah, I can get into that stuff. Because I was a kid, and it was so different for me, and I liked it. But Sean Connery's was the best, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of James Bond. It's just never...
No.
You can't beat... It's hard to beat Sean Connery, for sure. It's hard to beat Sean Connery, just because, it's such an iconic part of him, But, if you actually go, for the better films themselves, definitely the Daniel Craig ones, for sure.
I mean, I like Kingsman a lot.
Kingsman's fantastic. Kingsman's so good.
I love the homage that it pays to James Bond films and stuff like that, and I get it. It's just for me, James Bond films. Maybe it's because Jay, the nostalgia factor. I didn't watch. My dad likes James Bond films, but I never watched James Bond films much growing up. I didn't really enjoy them that much.
My dad. That's probably the one franchise my dad kind of got me into. Was that and maybe The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Clint Eastwood type films. But
this segues nicely into my number 4, which is nice. A better version of James Bond, Indiana Jones.
Oh, can I talk about Indiana Jones?
You can. You can steal my thunder. Go right ahead.
You do you.
So Indiana Jones, I talk about all the time. My mom introduced me to Indiana Jones. I absolutely love Indiana Jones. But my favorite one is not Raiders. My favorite one is The Last Crusade. I absolutely love The Last Crusade. It's the reason Chris got my vote in his fantasy movie draft was because he picked The Last Crusade as well. I absolutely love The Last Crusade. It's got a Bond in it just to pay homage to the James Bond films. There's so much fun to be had. You know, the way this movie was pitched by George Lucas to Steven Spielberg is it's a hero that wears a hat and he never loses his hat. Like, that's the way it was pitched. And the fact that millions of kids wanted to be archaeologists because they thought that they could punch a Nazi in the face and ride a tank and, you know, swim through the ocean and hook themselves onto a submarine and climb inside. Like, the films are so outlandish. There's so much action. There's so much world trotting. And there's so much history that's going on in them. They're so much fun. And Indiana Jones is a fun character. He's funny. He's heroic. The characters that he carries along with him throughout the stories are all funny. Everyone gets their moment to shine in all the films. I absolutely love watching them, including Temple of Doom, excluding Crystal Skull because it never happened as a movie as movie Pod Squad network.
Fever Dream.
Yeah, we've all collectively decided it never happened.
It doesn't happen, right? That's funny. I love it. Absolutely love it. I will not comment right now until later.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move on, Chris. What you got for number 3?
Star Wars.
Tragically low. Anyway, what you got?
Yeah. No. 3. Now, if anyone's listened to our to Morgan, then the running joke is that I've never seen Star Wars, which is absolutely not true. But the funny thing about it is, I didn't see Star Wars the first one until I was in my 20s. I didn't see them. It wasn't a thing that we watched as a family, and so I'm more of a recent fan of Star Wars, and like I absolutely love it. I could watch them anytime they're on. Doesn't matter which one. So like for me, I didn't. So I even enjoyed the prequels. You know what I mean? Like I understand that they're bad movies now that I watched them, but like I didn't have the hate that I had towards them because for me they were fairly new when I saw them. You know, like for me, like I hadn't really. The lore wasn't indelible inked into my brain yet, but I absolutely love Star Wars. My girls love Star Wars. It's one of our favorite things to watch as a family. So I'm a recent Star Wars nerd.
You actually, you're into a level of fandom into Star Wars that most people don't get into. You love building things that are Star Wars related.
My Lego obsession with Star Wars is well documented. I have bought almost every single Star Wars Lego set that's come out. I absolutely love it. And so what we do is anytime that we buy a new set, we'll have it the corresponding movie that it goes to on while we're building the set, me and my daughters. And it's one of the funnest ways to experience the movies. And I love it. I love episode 7. I loved Rogue One. I really loved Rogue One. I mean, I just watched it again recently. But yeah, Star Wars. And to say that something has impacted to say that something's impacted pop culture, nothing has ever impacted pop culture the way that Star Wars has. You just cannot deny it. Nothing has left its mark more than them. I'm sure that Dave will have more to say on it later.
I absolutely will.
But it's my number 3. And it would be higher if I had grown up with it, but I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't a thing, so it's my love for it is more recent than most people's.
That's fair enough, but I just know that I'm so happy that you and I have become friends in adulthood because 3rd grade Dave would not like 3rd grade Chris.
For not grade, let's see, what's 3rd grade Chris?
8 years old.
3rd grade Chris really liked 3rd grade Chris.
Pogs.
Really, yeah. Yeah. Oh I loved Mortal Kombat. I thought Mortal Kombat was the coolest thing in 3rd grade.
Oh, maybe we could have been friends.
I dug that. Yeah.
We used to play at recess. We would play Mortal Kombat. That's what we would play.
Yeah, we could have been friends. We would have been friends. We still would have been. But the second you
Dave and I probably wouldn't have.
The second you
I was 6 feet tall in 3rd grade. So
wow.
Yeah. Or close to.
How tall are you in there right now?
6'1".
Shut up, Jay. No one cares. No one cares how tall you are. Don't fucking mention it. Don't ask other people how tall they are. It's not a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, no. I stopped growing. I got really tall, really fast.
So you're the guy that had a beard at like in 7th grade.
Oh, absolutely. I've been shaving for forever. Since I was like 10. I think I started shaving at 10.
That's amazing. I am the same height I've been since like 8th grade.
Yeah. Me too. I'm the same height since 8th grade, but I stopped.
I grew until I was like 19 years old.
But Chris,
steady.
When we were 8 years old, the second I found out you hadn't seen Star Wars, you would have been invited over my house for a very special sleepover.
I'd seen it. I remember. I think I'd seen pieces of it. But it wasn't like on all the time. You know what I mean? It wasn't back in the day. You'd had to have bought the DVD or the VHS. It wasn't even DVD then, and then we didn't own it. It wasn't on TV all the time like most of these other franchises were, and it hadn't, of course, it hadn't come out in theaters. So I just never really got the chance to see it.
That's true. To get into Star Wars, you needed a Star Wars guide.
And my dad hates Star Wars. My dad absolutely hates Star Wars. So he thinks it's stupid. He thinks it's dumb. Like anytime we talk about it, he's just like, it's dumb. I don't like it. So like you can tell like it wasn't on at home, So
broken heart. Jay, you're number 3.
The Jason Bourne franchise.
Ooh, nice one. I dig it, man. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my list I saw was mostly spy oriented. You'll see later on, but this is one of those franchises that has succeeded.
It's ironic
overall.
that you love spy franchise because spies are all about blending in, being unseen, and doing the things that no one else can do. You're 6'7". You blend into nothing. Like
I feel like I do though. Being this tall, I feel like I do.
Literally being next to you in crowds of people, when people come up to you and they go, "How tall are you?"
I know.
You can't hide, motherfucker. I know. You can't.
I do like seeing pictures of you guys together whenever I see pictures.
Look, I hate it.
Good luck finding another photo in the near future, because the near future is not going to show a photo of me and Dave next to each other.
No, every time we're sitting down, we're fine next to each
other.
Yeah,
we're cool.
Sitting down.
We're cool.
Because you have...
You're all legs then, Jay, right?
Jay's all legs, and we both have like long torsos, but I have short legs, and he has... I'm going to say tragically long legs.
Yeah, my Levi's are 36 length.
Yeah,
so
mine are 30 length.
Okay, so you're 30, I'm 36, so yeah, do the math. But
I'm 10 inches taller than my wife, right? So I'm 10 inches taller than my wife, but our hips are the same height. I'm all torso.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm all torso. So so I totally understand the long torso. But Jason Bourne, great movies. As long as you take out Jeremy Renner's part, then you're good to go.
As long as you take out the fourth. As long as you take out the fourth one.
To me, that doesn't even count. The fourth Matt Damon movie is the one that I just take away. The second movie I edge out over the first one ever so slightly, as far as I guess Paul Greengrass. I mean, Paul Greengrass really just revamped that first movie and the franchise overall, as far as sparking a new kind of energy and style into it, and I really enjoyed it. And the first movie is right there with it. I probably put it at number 2, and the third movie is right there at number 3. But I love it. It's a really enjoyable franchise. My dad loves it.
It changed everything to me. It changed, yeah. Though, because before you saw Bourne, and we actually did Bourne not that long ago on our show. But what Bourne did was it went from the Arnold Schwarzenegger, which, don't get me wrong, I love every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ever, but where they would line up to fight him, he would punch, they would react, or they would kick and he would react. This one was outside of watching a martial art movie. He reacted in a way that we hadn't seen in an American action star before. So I just think it completely, the way that The Matrix changed certain action films, Bourne took it to another level to me.
It was done more in a realistic way, which I really appreciated, and it's more up my alley. the other franchise in this world is not in that way, but I put it up a little higher because of rewatchability and a little bit more fun. But you'll find out later on. Dave, go ahead.
Jason Bourne definitely changed how people looked at fight scenes, 100%. And the reason I bring that up is because fight scenes were a big thing for my next trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy is my
one of my honorable mentions. Yeah.
The way Christopher Nolan reintroduced Batman to the world with Batman Begins, the way that Dark Knight absolutely revolutionized, superhero flicks, and even The Dark Knight Rises, as much flack as it gets, as far removed as it is from.
I love Dark Knight Rises. I love it. I enjoyed it immensely when I saw it.
Absolutely love the villain in it. I love Bane. I
think he was fantastic.
I thought Tom Hardy. So, if you had given me the Bane from the comics, this luchador wrestler that was I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But you give me this staunch Scottish general as Bane,
fanatic.
Yeah,
he's a fanatic, man.
I loved it. I just loved his little mannerisms, like the way he tucked his thumbs into his vest and the way he walked around, and just like the way he was at rest, was always ready for a fight. He always looked empowered.
Tom Hardy was so self-aware with this character because he knew what he had to work with, and he pulled it off.
The downside with that film was everyone else, and not even Catwoman, not even Anne Hathaway. It was just how they portrayed Batman. It was just how they portrayed everything else in that film that was a problem.
Yeah.
But the first two films, I feel like, were the films that got Batman the most right out of anything else, and they got Bruce Wayne right, I agree. And they got that whole story of his origin right. They blended year one with some other stories and made it so fantastic to watch. And adding Liam Neeson in as Ra's al Ghul was so phenomenal. And
Michael Caine as Alfred,
right? And then topping themselves with The Dark Knight and adding Heath Ledger as the Joker, which, we'll be honest, when everyone heard Heath Ledger was the Joker, everyone's like, "You mean that pretty Australian guy that was in 10 Things I Hate About You?" I'm not so sure about this. And then
absolutely,
the first footage came out, and you got that, and you were like,
the one photo.
Yeah, everyone's like,
that one photo was all it took.
I am afraid of this fucking Joker, and that Joker strikes you with fear. And you can poke all the holes in the trilogy that you want, but the fact is, it's the best Batman we've gotten, and fuck you, Nick from Epic Film Guys, to date. Because I love the look of Batfleck. I love the way he looks, but I've seen nothing from him that is close to what this trilogy gave us. So
not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Batman fan, and I love the casting of Ben Affleck as Batman and stuff like that. But for me, so far, this is the definitive Batman trilogy. This is.
I agree.
If you're gonna give anyone who's a fan of Batman something to watch, that if for some reason they haven't seen this trilogy, you give them this. You don't, even more so than Burton's Batman. You give them this over that.
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, for sure. I mean, the Batman, movies with Burton, I think I would strongly recommend along with it. I'd be like, look, you need to watch these movies along with these other movies from this director, and that's all you need. I mean, I mean, and then also, Mask of a Phantasm. I mean, it's perfect.
Chris, you're number 2.
Do you remember when Jay Lost the Day took Mask of the Phantasm round 1 in the movie draft?
I do.
You remember that, Dave? Do you remember when that happened?
That is my favorite portrayal of Batman ever.
How'd you feel about that? I'm mostly messing with you right now.
Mostly, but actually, it helped me win because that allowed me to pick Dread 3D for my round 5. Because
solid pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah,
I went back and forth between you and Justin so many times. He had a solid list. It was really good, but I did vote for you in the end. Getting Logan and The Dark Knight mixed together, you can't beat that. Those are too good of movies.
That's pretty good. Yeah, definitely.
Jay voted for Justin. He told me. He texted me.
Fuck you, Jay. Fuck you, man. Well, anyway, I was proven right in the end. I won. Chris, you won. Jay's never been on a movie draft, so he can't say that he's a fucking champion in this race.
Yeah, I'm a loner.
You got to go on, Jay, and you got to bring it home for Super Movie Bros.
Dave's gonna bury me.
if Justin ever does a hashtag fantasy movie draft for indie films, Jay's got to be on.
Yes, definitely.
It's never happening. That's not Justin's show. You wouldn't survive in one of those. No offense, sir. You wouldn't survive.
No, I know.
They're brutal.
I am not afraid of my own limits.
Number 2 is Indiana Jones. You guys already talked about it earlier. This was the only time that I kind of vacillated. I told you earlier that I had my list was set a week ago. Like, I was set. But I went back and forth between this and number 2 because I do consider Raiders of the Lost Ark to be my favorite movie. I do think it's my favorite movie, and I tell people that. But gosh dang it, Indiana Jones is so good, right? I just can't. I could watch it all day, every day. If it's on, I will watch it, no matter what. Doesn't matter which one it is. I'll even watch Crystal Skull now that I've gotten over the shock of how bad it was. I can actually watch it.
I'm the same as you. Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I can actually watch it.
It's a terrible movie. Don't even get me wrong. But you know what? Who's in it? Indiana freaking Jones. So I can watch it. But I saw Crystal Skull on my honeymoon. Have I ever told you that? I think I did once. But we had to kill time before our flight, and so I said, "Hey, let's go see Indiana Jones. This is a perfect place to see it."
You didn't have sex that night, did you? Because you were so angry you could never get it up.
Sex.
Yeah, you couldn't get it up.
You know what? I used my tears as lubricant. I was just so sad. It was just so depressing. No, but no, I don't know if I've seen a movie more than those 3 movies. I just even Temple of Doom, which starts off with that 90-minute dance scene at the beginning. Even that movie, because you can even argue that Temple of Doom has actually the best scenes. Like, it has some of the best, most iconic scenes of a movie, because you go the rope bridge scene. I mean, come on, the rope bridge scene is amazing.
He no nuts. He crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy. And then you got the minecart chase. You have the Kali Ma scene with the heart ripping out. I mean, there's so many. So even if Temple Doom, which is usually considered like the weakest one, might actually have the best scenes, if not the most cohesive film. And then you get to Temple of Doom. I mean, sorry, and you get to Last Crusade, and you pull in Sean Connery. It just caps it off so well, and just I just absolutely love these movies. And I actually haven't watched them with my daughters yet. They're a little too intense, but they do know who Indiana Jones is because we have the Well of Souls Lego set.
Nice.
And it is a fantastic set. And so they know who Indiana Jones is, and I've shown them like clips of it and everything. And so my oldest thinks it, so when I just from the few scenes that I've shown her from Indiana Jones, she wants to be Indiana Jones when she grows up. That's who she wants.
I was the same way growing up. That was my goal at the age of 5, was to be Indiana Jones. I didn't care that archaeology was a career. I only cared that I could be Indiana Jones. I wanted to literally be that character because I had gone to Disney. It was called MGM Studios at the time. Disney MGM Studios, and I saw the stunt show, and I was like, it is possible to be Indiana Jones. I can do that as a career. That's a thing that I can do.
Oh, I love that stunt show. I saw it as an adult on my honeymoon. It was still...
I just saw it this past summer, and it's the last time it's running. They're closing it down, man.
Bummer.
It is.
Terrible.
It's a bummer. I was so happy that we got to see it. We actually had to go see it twice because it got rained out the first time and they didn't get to do all the stunts. So I made Lauren go back and see it again. And she's like, why? You've seen this like at least like 6 times. And I was like, you don't understand. I'm saying goodbye to it. Like I'm telling it goodbye. Like, and I've been watching this since I was 4 years old. I need to see this again, and it was a fantastic experience. I loved it.
So good.
I love the Indiana Jones films so much, and it's funny that you said that. This is the one that you jockeyed on your list, because me and you were talking off air before we started recording about removing something from our list, or putting something at a different spot on our list. This wasn't on my list when we started recording, and Crystal Skull kept it off. And then I took a hard look at my list, and I realized that there was something else that'll be in my honorable mentions that I took off my list because its entire pantheon doesn't equal what Indiana Jones is. So Indiana Jones made my list because of that.
Such a good one. Yeah, number 2. It could have been my number 1. But I just put it number 2 just because the scope, I think, of my number 1. But I would love to hear Jay's number 2.
Mission Impossible.
Oh, good one. I like it. No.
Yeah, this is my last of the spy genre, and this is Tom Cruise in all of his glory.
I'm gonna be honest. Both you have me flummoxed as to what is your number 1.
Oh, my number 1 is selfish beyond all measures. But anyway, Tom Cruise. I mean, this is a franchise of all franchises. I don't know what
selfish means in a personal list. It's a personal list.
I know, but I feel like Dave has a whole other idea.
It means every single person listening to this is going to go, "What the fuck?
That's why
what is this guy doing on a geekcast such as this?"
Exactly. Dave knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
It's not a geek franchise. Anyway,
I like the Mission Impossible movies. They're a lot of fun.
They're just so much fun. It has a great balance of humor, a little bit of drama, thriller, suspense, international landscape. They always hold strong through and through. And, besides number 2 is the most campy one of them all.
John Woo!
John Woo was John Woo back in the day, and that's all he's good for. But overall, they're all great. I think each one holds their own merits, and it would be really hard for me to actually put them in order as far as what I like over another movie. What do you think, Chris? I mean, you're a fan of this franchise.
I think one right off. You go with 1. I think it started it all off. It has that incredible scene in Langley. It's so iconic.
Brian De Palma, right? I mean, I can't believe that he did this movie. The guy who did Scarface. This is the guy that made this first movie.
Yeah, I loved it. And you really were guessing the entire time.
You had no idea where this movie was going whatsoever.
And the supporting cast, too, because I love Tom Cruise. I think he's great. I think his personal life aside, he is a blast to watch on TV. I'll watch anything on screen. He's great to watch on screen. But yeah, there's so many just fantastic action sequences in it too. Even the train scene when the helicopter's flying through the
big time.
Yeah, but there's so many great actors in this film between John Voight, Jean Reno. You just are Vanessa Redgrave. All these the supporting Ving Rhames. Everybody in it is fantastic in this film. So. But then the rest of them, I kind of loop them all together. I'd probably put Ghost Protocol as number 2. I actually really enjoyed that one. And I'd probably go 1, Ghost Protocol, and then the other 3 are all kind of the same to me. So.
I really enjoyed the latest one, Rogue Nation, and that was a lot of fun for me. I thought it was a different spin on the franchise. The J.J. Abrams was great because it got it back to where it needed to be, coming back from the second movie. The third entry of this franchise.
Entree.
I know. Getting a little drunk.
Plus getting Simon Pegg in there too is always fun. I love Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg was a huge necessity. I think they know that.
Oh, and the villain was perfect in 3. Mission Impossible 3 is my favorite one.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Best villain they've had.
He was filming this when he was going through the awards segment of Capote. He won the Best Actor award for Capote.
Did you guys know he died? Did you know he died?
Oh, Don't get me started on that. That's devastating. Devastating.
I just didn't. Yeah. I didn't know. I just didn't know if you guys knew or not. So I just was trying to clue you in. And
my favorite,
anyway.
my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman role is Along Came Polly.
Oh my God, that's my favorite. He's dripping the pizza oil. There's so many good sequences in that movie.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman role ever. Period.
We have a serious situation. We need to leave right now. I just sharded.
Fuck Capote. Fuck the master. I don't care about his Academy Award nominated things. I care about Along Came Polly.
No, his best role is in The Big Lebowski. That's his best role.
That is 100% true.
He has so many amazing roles. I mean, oh God.
My number 2, I talked about a lot already. It's Back to the Future. I talked about how perfect the first film is.
Wait, was Jay done, Dave?
Yeah, he was done. He was talking about Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah. We're done with that.
It's Mission Impossible. I said enough.
but yeah, Back to the Future. The first one was almost a perfect film, perfect trip, perfectly timed. The second one is a perfect complement to that. And the third one is a fun romp. It's not as great as the other two, but it's a fun romp. I absolutely love going back to these films, and like Jay described the Rocky films, when you were talking about them, it's one of those films that when it goes on, you don't stop watching it.
No. 3 was actually my favorite until I got older. 3 was growing up, 3 was my favorite one because they were cowboys. I thought it was awesome. And then as I got older and realized it, it switched to 1 being my favorite, just because it's a better film overall. But 3 will always hold a special place in my heart as being the quote unquote the fun one.
And the best part about 1 is
you're the first person that's ever said that. I think.
What? Well, he said when he was a kid, and I get that.
No, but I know, but still.
When I was a kid, 2 was my favorite. I loved 2. I loved the idea of 2.
When I was a kid, I think 2 I had the most fun with. But Chris, did you see the first 2 movies before you saw 3?
No, I actually saw 3. Now we're talking like I was a little kid when this movie came out. So 3, I actually saw it in the theaters.
Okay.
So I just thought that all of them were cowboy movies when I was a little kid. So I was actually shocked when I found out they weren't. So yeah. so
that kind of threw you off then, I guess, as far as
they're all cowboy movies.
Whole trilogy.
He plays Clint Eastwood.
Different kind of movie, yeah.
But second one, I love, like, retrospectively looking back at the second one and being like, it takes place in 2015. We don't have hoverboards. We don't have flying cars. We don't have houses that, like, read our fingerprints. We do have houses that follow our every order, like they do in that one. If you're one of those people, I'm not. I can't say lights and all my lights turn on, but I do love that aspect of it as well. Now, but Back to the Future is just absolutely one of my favorite franchises because of that fact that if any of them are on at any given time and I'm flipping through the channels, I stop, and no matter where it is in the film, I pick it up and I just complete it, and I just watched all the rest of the thing. I absolutely love Back to the Future.
Such a great movie. Absolutely love it.
All right, we're on to you, Chris, for your number one. I should say that currently, right now, we are running a poll on Twitter for what are people's favorite franchises. I put up 4 franchises, and I asked people to write in if they had anything different. At this moment, no one has written anything else as far as this poll is concerned. But right now, the 4 franchises that are up on the poll are the Alien franchise, Star Wars Anthology, Back to the Future Trio, and Harry Potter franchise. And so far, for a while, it was close between Back to the Future and Star Wars, but Star Wars has run away with it. They're at 50% of the votes right now. So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point Star Wars will win that. But Chris, what's your number one?
You could do it.
Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is my number
1. That's going to pair so nicely with our episode later on. Shit. Because I just talked about things I hated the most in the episode we recorded before recording this. But people will get this before they get that.
Of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so Lord of the Rings. So so this came out my senior year in high school, and I don't know how many times I read the books. They were like I must have went through several books because they were just so dog-eared, and so I had to constantly be getting new ones. I read them all the times. My friends read them. Like, so when this movie came out, I crapped my pants when it finally came out. And Dave was probably going to say that it was a boring movie with beautiful shot scenes. He's going to say something like that. Anyway, you can go screw yourself, because these movies are absolutely perfect. And every single scene is beautiful. The world that Peter Jackson was able to create. The honestly, as a huge fan of the books, I don't know if anything has ever been as well adapted from a beloved book series as these movies. And the amount of work and preparation and love that went into literally everything in this movie just comes through. And I just think it is a masterpiece of cinema. I just think nothing. I'm actually going to send you a picture of how I recorded this episode later on, and you're gonna love it. And I will be fully clothed, sadly. So,
Chris, I love you. We are extremely good friends. You're the third super movie brother. I fucking hate Lord of the Rings. I fucking hate them. I can't stand them. I'm so bored by them.
Me too.
I get so bored. And you're right. They are beautifully shot. Every scene is a fucking tapestry painted by Peter Jackson. But the characters are so boring. And I'm a fan of the books. I read them all through 8th and 9th grade. I loved The Hobbit. And I loved, every single one of the Lord of the Rings novels. I even read the Silmarillion. I just could not stand the films. I thought they made such boring films. And I kept telling Jay, when we talked in our main episode, I couldn't wait for Ian McCollum to be on screen, because he was the most gravitating character that they put in there.
Oh, for sure. That I can't argue with you on that part, because he's incredible. The only I gotta go because we can't be friends anymore. So I'll have to see you later. Okay, I'm just messing.
It's just a thing, and I don't know whether society has set us to be opposed because I'm a Star Wars fan, and maybe we were always meant to be opposed because,
Are we the two sides of the Schwartz?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got the upside. I got the downside. There's a downside to everything.
Yeah.
Ow! But the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it's not my bag. Now, am I ever going to call them bad movies? No, I'm never going to say they're bad movies. It's just not my thing. It's just not what I gravitate towards when I look for film. There's substance in those films. It's just that for me, it was so boring. I kept waiting for the next battle, and we talked about it in our main episode, but preparation for the battle would start in act 1.5 and then complete in act 3.
The battles actually are the parts that, while are fantastic and great and epic, I love the quiet scenes. Just to see them interact just in a normal way with this fantastical world that had been created. It's just absolutely beautiful. I loved every second of it.
For me, Fellowship was good. I really liked Fellowship. Everything after that, though, I found to be diminishing. Now, I say this in hindsight. When these first came out, I'll admit I loved them. I loved them when they first came out. It's only in hindsight and after watching them over and over again that I've become bored with them.
Oh, they're not ones. I don't think that they're ones that you can just, because the rest of these movies on the rest of our trilogies are all very sit down, watch anytime they're on in pieces kind of thing. These movies are just in their scope and their grandeur. You can't always commit to a 4-hour movie. You know what I mean? It's just like when you're sitting down watching The Godfather, you can't always commit to watching Godfather 1 and 2, no matter how great they are. You're not gonna. You can't just.
100%.
You know what I mean? And so that's how I feel about Lord of the Rings. Now, I just think nothing to me will ever compare to what they were able to accomplish on screen.
Here's a question for you, because you love them so much that you made them your number one. Do you watch the extended edition ones, like the ones that are
every time?
Oh my god, they're so boring. It's so boring. I prefer it's one of the few things I prefer the theatrical cut to.
I see why. Whenever they show when they did bring out the director's cut, which is the ones I own, I see why they cut the pieces out, but I gladly have them in. They're great. The only thing that I think that the extended editions, like I think that they really, really should have left in, were anything with Boromir. I think that the extended editions really flesh out his character and what he really is. That's the only thing I think that they really should have left in. Everything else is just gravy on the extended edition. So
awesome. Jay, what do you got for your number one? Number one.
My number one, Chris, you called it earlier on.
I did.
The Before trilogy. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight.
I love that I called it. That's hilarious.
You so called it.
Because they are the ultimate indie flicks, right? Like they are the ultimate. They are
the
talky.
ultimate indie trilogy.
Yeah, they
of
are
all
talky.
Time.
They're talky as shit.
They're talky as shit.
They're a movie that is built basically on its dialogue and less on its setting.
Well, setting. I mean, European, whatever destinations, but
I know,
Dave.
Put your dick away, Jay, and just talk about the film without fucking fapping all over.
This is one of those movies where I just can't get enough of it. I mean, I love these characters. I love the dialogue. I love the intimacy of it all. I love the European landscape and the settings, and just especially the first movie. I think, I bounce back and forth between the first movie and the second movie, loving more. The first movie I think holds more true to me.
It depends on where you are in your life.
I think so, because it does bounce around a lot. the whole essence of exploring one's self and another person, and just falling in love and just being in a new setting, really holds a strong place. And then second movie, it's like seamless. Like that 90 minute movie, so short, in Paris, goes by so quickly, beautifully done. And especially with their age range, you could just see the chemistry just like fly off the screen, especially after watching the first movie. It's just so organic as far as, their rekindling relationship. And the third movie just is such a deep gut punch of a exploration of family and relationships, over time, and also with children and loved ones in their life, and how that affects their lives as a whole. This franchise, this is part of my love for cinema and indie films, and hats off to Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy, and Richard Linklater. I'm not going to dive too much in detail, but those three are special and dear to my heart. Always will be, more than any other franchise.
Thank you for bringing them up. So happy. I mean, I love these films, but no, not on this list at all. Period. Don't belong here.
Shut up.
Yes. Get out of here. Yes. Just leave. Finish your beer. Get the fuck out of the house.
Yes. It's almost done.
All right, my number one. It's obvious. It's especially obvious to Jay as he sits around my room, where there are lightsabers that we made for each other at Disney World. There are
not Dave and I, Lauren and Dave, not myself.
Yeah, Lauren, me and my wife. There is tons of Star Wars ship directly behind Jay. There is an entire Star Wars novel collection to the right of him. Star Wars, man, Star Wars. I wrestled with this, and I'll be honest, I wrestled with this. Putting Star Wars at my number one franchise, I wrestled with, because I don't hate the prequels. I do like the prequels to an extent. And for me, they were a missed mark. They could have been better. But when I think of Star Wars as a whole, like just the way it makes me feel, I don't actually mind them that much, because what made Star Wars is still there in a sense. It just to lesser degrees. But I mean, really, it's on here for Episode 4, 5, and 6 for A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I mean, those growing up as a kid really defined who I was as a person so much, in the same way that Indiana Jones did. Like, my mom showed me these films. I absolutely loved watching them, and I mean, there's just so much to love in it. Just right down to the design of them, the designs of the ships, the designs of the creatures, the designs of the characters, and then you get into the whole, you know, father-son story and fulfilling destiny, and whether whether your destiny has been chosen for you or not. And that's one of the things I love is, like, when you get to Return of the Jedi, everything that Luke is told is his destiny. He changes. He literally changes it. He's told that doing this will set you down the path of the dark side, and he rejects it, and he does it successfully, and he wins the day, and he moves forward. And then we get into The Force Awakens, and we find out that, like, there's not one fix for everything. There's not one good deed, one magical act that can change the world. It's that one good deed that's going to inspire others to continue to move forward and change the world. I absolutely love the message of Star Wars. I love the philosophy of Star Wars. It's one of my favorite things to do. Coming up soon, Wes from At Via VHS is going to release our prequels discussion on his Rewind review. You're going to get a lot of my thoughts on Star Wars in that, especially when it comes to the prequels. So Star Wars is my number one, man. I absolutely love it. It's never going to go away. It's that franchise that, like, it's not fleeting for me. I didn't see the films and go like, yeah, they're really awesome. And no offense, Chris, but in the same way I saw Lord of the Rings, when I first saw those films, I really dug them. But in repeat viewings, I find myself bored with them. Whereas Star Wars, I can watch over and over and over and over and over again.
There's some pretty good Lego sets too for Star Wars, I hear.
Goddamn fucking right there is. Now, not like you. I do own some Lego sets, and I've built a Lego set or two. I'm more into, like, the smaller sets that run somewhere around the $40 to $5 range. But I do enjoy building me some Legos every now and then. But
you should see my Lord of the Rings Tower of Orthanc. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's like 9 feet tall. I love it.
But when it really comes to Star Wars collecting, what I collected in Star Wars is the ships. I really dig the spaceships. I dig the space battles. I just love the design of them, and it's one of the things I loved about Rogue One, man. We got some different type of ships in that were really cool to look at. And
oh yeah,
and
the U-wing Lego set for Rogue One is a fantastic set. It really is.
As soon as they come out with a big version of that, I really want to get it and put it somewhere up in this podcast studio, because I fucking love that. I love that ship. It makes me wonder. It's one of the things that, like, I wonder while watching it. Like, in the Battle of Endor, when they're fighting the second Death Star, where are the U-wings?
Oh, they go into that. You didn't go into the lore on that? They stopped after they were a rare. I read up because I asked the same question. I'm like, where'd the U-wings go? Whatever.
Right. They seem like the perfect mix between X-wing and troop transport. So, like, why wouldn't you continue using them?
The lore on it is that they were made by the same. I think if I remember correctly from the Legos, they were made by the same people who made the X-wing, and after a certain amount of time, they were a rarer ship, kind of like Slave One is a rarer ship. They didn't make a whole lot of them, and then they just focused on the battle part, the space battle part with the X-wing. That's the lore that they gave into it to, like, explain it. That there weren't many in the beginning, and then they discontinued the model later on.
Sure, makes sense, I guess. Star Wars is my number one. I just fucking love it. Chris, we're going to start doing our honorable mentions, man. So why don't you just rattle off whatever 3 or 4 you got in honorable mentions?
Star Trek. Star Trek, it's more of a TV show phenomenon for me, but I love all the movies too. They're all great. Some of them, of course, are better than others. I love the Star Trek Next Generation ones. First Contact, I think, is the actual best one out of all of them. But then you got Wrath of Khan, you get Voyage Home. You have all these different ones that are just a lot of fun. Other ones obviously I think I should have said Back to the Future, of course, is in there. Another one that I almost put on there just because of the funness of them is the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I think those are a lot of fun. I would have put it if I think if the World's End was better, because I didn't enjoy the World's End that much. I think that it might have made the list because Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are just fantastic films.
Yeah, World's End is enjoyable, but it's not enjoyed in the same way that the other two are.
Exactly. I actually, it's a shame that Paul isn't considered part of that, because if Paul was considered part of the trilogy, then I probably would have made the list for me, because I think it fits better with the other two. But there's a lot of, but those are the two that I went back and forth, and of course Back to the Future was honestly my number 6 on there. But those other two, I just think those should be mentioned. But those are my honorable mentions.
Jay, your honorable mentions.
I have the Planet of the Apes. Mostly because of
originals or the new ones?
Well, see, that's where I was going to get into, because
they're not a trilogy yet until the third one's released.
Exactly. But I have high hopes to the War of the Planet of the Apes.
I think it's going to be great too, Jay. Yeah.
It's my number 1 most anticipated film for 2016 or 2017.
Right. So the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then the War for the Planet of the Apes, I think are going to be one of the most recent, successful, really well-regarded trilogies of recent time. I'm excited for that, and I'm really excited for that release. And I just wanted to throw it out there, just overall.
Especially them being remakes.
Exactly. I mean, this is really, really rare. And especially in this kind of franchise where one would think that there's only so much you can do with. But, hey, look, we have some really interesting things going on right now. And other than that, I have also Pirates, because Pirates has been out and about for a long time now, and I'm hearing mixed things about this next movie coming out, Dead Man Tells No Tales, and
Paul McCartney's in it.
And Javier Bardem, Johnny Depp, obviously, but hopefully it's good. It comes back to fruition. The 5th movie, let's do it.
For me, honorable mentions are, I do love the Star Trek new trilogy. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, much more than that. I really enjoyed the J.J. Abrams trilogy that was built. But for me, it's the Alien franchise. And, if you've listened to me and Chris talk on this podcast, you know that I love Alien. You know that I love Aliens. And I actually enjoy Alien versus Predator. But as far as it goes, there's really only 2 good films in this franchise, and that's what wound up keeping it off the list, was that the rest of the films aren't good enough to put it up there. Even Prometheus, which I respect and I enjoy in its own right, it's nowhere near Alien or Aliens, and I haven't seen Alien Covenant yet, but early reviews on that are basically that it's basically Prometheus 2. And it's a lot like Prometheus. So that means I'll enjoy what I watch in the theater, but it's probably not going to be enough to really expand my love of Alien. The next one for me is the Jurassic Park series. Now, I love Jurassic Park 1. Absolutely love Jurassic Park 1.
Amazing film. Absolutely amazing.
The Lost World is something I loved when I was younger, and as I got older, the flaws became so apparent to me as I got older.
It's a fun movie.
It's so fun.
You lose the groundedness that Jurassic Park had in Lost World. Yeah, there's some there's a bit of, or you lose the groundness of like it being like more scientific, but you also lose the grandeur and the awe-inspiringness of the whole thing.
It's because they give it to you so much. Like you get so much dinosaur in this that like, it's no longer a spectacle. It's just like it's a reality. And once you make something like Jurassic Park a reality, it becomes less fantastical. And then you get into Jurassic Park 3, which was obviously terrible, and The Lost World, which I found enjoyable. But honestly, like that film as a whole is only just marks above Jurassic Park 3. It's not that great. I'm very excited for the next film. As we're bringing Ian Malcolm back, which is the best character that was in the original one. I wasn't crazy about him in The Lost World, but I loved him in Jurassic Park. And it seems that, Colin Trevorrow and the way that they're treating this they're going to do that character some respect and give him something. Hopefully he doesn't come back like he did as David in Independence Day Resurgence. And then the last honorable mention is the Fast and Furious franchise. Now it has its stinkers in there, like landmines placed throughout its anthology, but I really enjoy the first one. The second one's awful. The third one is ridiculous to no extent, and it's so much fun to watch. The fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one, the eighth one, they're just fun popcorn flicks that like you can just watch, and it really doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You can shut your brain off and just enjoy some explosions, some fast cars, and some really fun and dumb dialogue. It's really turn your brain off shit. So I really enjoy the Fast and Furious series as well. And that's it for my honorable mentions, man. So that's it. That's gonna do it for us, Super Movie Brothers. I have been your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your other host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
And we are joined by Chris from the More Good Than podcast. Chris, drop us a line, man. Fucking die.
You can check us out on. We come out every Wednesday. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, whatever it is. We're there. You can follow us on Twitter. We're really talkative on Twitter, so you can follow us at MGT Podcast. We have a website, which is mgtpodcast.com. Of course, we're also with Super Movie Bros. We're part of the Movie Pod Squad Network, which has been a lot of fun. And you can find us there at moviepodsquad.com.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are part of the Movie Pod Squad network. That's why Chris is on here, not just because he's a network bro, but because he is a bro. We've been in love with Chris for a long time. So we love having him on. A bro. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a new thing. I'm coining it now. But you can find us at Twitter. It's where we're most active, at Super Movie Pod. Please leave iTunes reviews for both our show, Super Movie Brothers, and Chris's show, the More Gooder Than podcast, on there. 5-star reviews are what help us get found, what help us get seen the most. And Chris, what was your most recent episode about? What do you got out right now that people can check out?
Well, this is going up on Wednesday, right? For you guys, we got our goodie bags being released, which are our minisodes. And we are actually going to be doing, we had some friends in the military suggest 3 films for us to do that they considered like the military movies. So we're going to be releasing that as our next full-length episode, which is going to be covering Saving Private Ryan, Top Gun, and Platoon.
Nice.
So
we're
really excited about it.
That's a nice mix, man. That's a nice mix.
That's a good mix.
It was. Yeah, we had a really good time recording it. We are a comedy podcast, so talking about Platoon and Saving Private Ryan was definitely a feat for the ages to do, but we were really happy with how it turned out.
All you got to do to make Saving Private Ryan funny is to think of the ugliest girl you've ever seen. She hit every branch.
Yeah, hits every branch on the way down. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that scene.
But we enjoyed it, and that was fun. And we've never done that before. We never outsourced our movies before, but we like that we're doing it for Memorial Day week. And so, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm so glad I was on today. Love franchises. Lord of the Rings rules them all. You know, they're the one franchise to In the Darkness bind them.
Hold on. Fuck off. Because you only love Lord of the Rings because you saw it before you saw Star Wars. That's why you love Lord of the Rings. To be honest. Just being honest.
That's funny. I love it. I love you both. I love you both very much.
Oh man.
In a very aggressively sexual way.
I've been telling you ever since you got the new house. There's that fireplace, and there's no bearskin rug. The only way you're getting into this boy's hole is with a bearskin rug.
We do have a lovely fireplace. It is true. So
that's gonna do it for us tonight. Have a great night and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.